Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 8617 South Sacramento Air Quality Steering Committee meeting. We are calling the meeting to order at 6:15. So everyone is aware this meeting is being recorded. Once again, we want to welcome everyone for coming out today, and we can pass it over to the interpreter.
Estamos aqui solamente no Mendoza, en área de Visual Services Service. Estamos proveyendo servicio de intérprete en español. Tenemos oído disponible por si los que gustan acerca de la misión. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. And on the next slide, we'll go over how to access an interpreter if you're online. Great. So if you're joining us online, you need to access the interpretation services. Please use the instructions on the screen. And you are able to join us and engage in whatever language you need to today. So I am here facilitating today's meeting. I know almost all of you. My name is Britta Romans, and we can go ahead and go over some of our in-person reminders and logistics. Great. Slide delay, got it. So this is normal. We are in a new meeting venue. So if you're here in person, congratulations on finding it. We'll have some more folks join us in a little bit who had to go through that same journey as well. So if you're here in person, we have the same sort of order of operations. We ask that you use the microphone. We ask that you raise your name placard if you're a steering committee when you have a question. If you're a member of the public, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you after we hear from the steering committee. So that will go steering committee in person, steering committee online, and then public in person and public online. So we do want to hear from all of you today. And we'll just be calling on you in that order of operations. If you put it in the chat, we'll be sure to read that aloud as well. And I think that covers the in-person and virtual reminders. If we want to go over the charter and code of conduct. Yeah, so virtual, if you're here virtually, this is also standard. Like I said, you'll use the raise hand button. You saw it on the last slide. And then here is our charter code of conduct. So this is what we abide by every time. We will treat each other with courtesy and respect. We love to avoid interruption. That way interpretation can follow along and not to be interpreting two different patients at the same time. Something that we will do in this space is value each other's time and respect each other's opportunity to speak. We have a lot to cover. We have so many strategies to go over, which is such a win that we will really need to stay on time and on topic. And so I'm going to move us along, that way we can do that. Great. So the agenda today is a little bit out of order in terms of our normal, just because we want to make space for going over the strategies and then not having to have items after that. So we will hear some updates from the outreach subcommittee, the district. We'll approve the meeting summary as normal. Then validation is here today. Then we will do our CERT team report out, which is where we will spend over an hour today. We'll close out with new business and upcoming meeting topics, public comments per usual, and then we will adjourn the meeting. So like I said, we have a very packed agenda. And we had to start a little bit late just because we're here, so we can't start the meeting without attendees. So we will be trying to make up for that time. That way we can respect your time and hopefully let you out on time. So if I give yours, it is out of respect for your time. Great. So with that, we can go ahead and do introductions and steering committee roll call. So I will pass it to Morgan to conduct roll call for.
Again, Morgan Broccoli. So we are going to go through roll call. If I call your name, please say aye, present or here. Bishop Chris Baker. Here. Vincent Valdez. Stephanie Williams. Tito. Jamala Green.
Aye.
Sabrina Rodriguez. Reina Moreno. Richard Falcone. Richard Lincoln. Ward Winchell. Barry Boyd.
Here.
Brown, here. Lori Walker. Roberta Russo.
Here.
James Alton. Arturo Arroyo. M. Swan. All right, and that concludes the roll call for steering committee members. We also have the staff, Metro Air District staff here present, as well as CAR, our facilitators, who has presented themselves. And then we also welcome the Native Valley Division, the city of Elk Grove, the county of Sacramento, as well as the city of Sacramento for their attendance.
Thanks,
Hey, Morgan.
Morgan, and as we were conducting roll call. Yes, Barry?
Sorry, for my end, the audio is coming and going. It's just a bad stream. But I couldn't tell if Morgan said that we do have enough to conduct a meeting or not, if we have enough members in.
Yes, that's what I was about to announce. We do have 8 members, so the quorum has been reached, and I was just going to note that we do have some members who are in transit. And so we do have minimum required to vote, and that number will also increase, and people will their attendance as they arrive. So we can go ahead and move on to community events. Does anyone have any community events to share? If so, please raise your hand. In person or online? Yes, Morgan.
Morgan Brown, Edge Gully. Excuse me, Color Block has two events coming up on August 8th at Excelsior Market, which is an event area at Estate Farms. We are doing our Western night market. So there'll be boots on the ground, super fun, free horseback riding for the kids, hands-on ag projects. And then on August the 25th at Rainbow Mini Park, in partnership with Southgate Park and Rec District, we will be having our salsa and chilies festival. So we'll actually have on site for the kids to be able to actually plant chili plants, tomato plants, and then we'll also have ingredients on site so the kids can make their own salsa.
Great, thanks, Morgan. I see Barry's hand up. Barry, go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. The Banana Festival, August 16th and 17th. Today, I received the confirmation that we have been accepted to be to table there both Saturday and Sunday. I had put a note in that we would probably just be there Saturday. Anyway, I'll speak with the host of the event tomorrow. With that said, then I'll forward all paperwork over to Bill Knowlton's group to get the monies, yada, yada, yada. So again, the Banana Festival is Saturday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday, August 17th from 10 a.m., I believe, to 5 p.m. Again, I'm looking to only table that Saturday, 10 a.m. into say 2-ish, 3-ish. At the same time, anyone who would like to come and assist in the tabling, by all means, anytime Saturday, and or if your schedule better fits for Sunday, then we have Sunday is already on hold for us as well. And lastly, well, Janice may bring this up, but the council member Mai Vang's Southside Community Festival is August 23rd at Meadowview Park, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., to which we will be tabling. The CSC will be tabling. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Barry. Any other community events to share? Okay, perfect. I will pass it to Janice for our community updates.
Hi all, good evening. Just for the outreach committee update, there's quite a few steering committee members there. Barry had just mentioned that we had discussions, visit was there, Jen Holden and a few others. So the items that we discussed was about status of purchasing the outreach materials that you all have approved. And it sounds like that Morgan had already purchased the shirts. She was just waiting to embroider onto the polo shirt. And Vincent was working on purchasing the other items. We did also have a recruitment update for the steering committee. We currently did get, how many, we got a few applications, about 7 of them, and we are waiting to complete the application, so we're following up with the applicants to ensure that they've completed their application so we can move forward to the next step. The main items that we discussed were 2 things. One was the AB 617 community event. And if you guys can remember, there was a question surrounding when we released the data, whether or not we were going to be, sharing that information out with the community. This group here discussed having a community event to share that. And so during our subcommittee meeting, we had a discussion on a tentative date of a community event for October 15th. And then it would have some air quality data and potentially the search strategies that you all had developed so that you guys can engage the temperature of the community and all the strategies that you guys have developed. In addition to that, we also discussed a 2025 calendar of events that was created onto as well as the attendance for National Night Out on August 5th. And which ones the steering committee itself, our members are going to be attending, as well as which ones the air district is going to be attending. I'm not going to go through the whole list of calendar events because there were like 20 of them on there from now until the end of the year. But we did create a Google Doc that the steering committee can use to sign up to table, just like Banana Festival, Barry has talked about, as well as for a national night out. Barry, is there anything that you wanted to add?
I'm sorry, you kind of faded.
Well, I think too.
I'm sorry, you kind of faded just a little bit.
What did you say, Barry?
Oh, I thought you were asking me. Are you asking me a question, Janice?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I was asking if there was anything that I missed, as well as with the other outreach subcommittee who attended that meeting.
I'm sorry, the audio is just really bad from mine. It's just coming in choppy.
Okay, thank you, Barry. All right. So, anything anybody wanted to add to that? No? All right, that is the outreach subcommittee update.
Just noting that your attendance, Tito is now here as well, welcome Tito. And is here as well online, so we are up to 10 steering members for the record.
All right, district update. I just have one. So the Institute for Local Government have received a community air grant from CAR and putting together a air grant of 17 communities. And the purpose is to convene community members, local governments from 617 communities to share experiences and lessons learned from implementing the CERT, on focused actions, strategies that require local government and community partners for implementation. They wanted me to share with you all that they have a tentative date of October 18th or October 25th, which both are Saturdays. Both are Saturdays. And it's going to be a all-day event from 10 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. in Las Positas College in Livermore. Food, lunch and snacks will be provided. Transportation is provided by ILG. But there are going to be stipends. Community members will receive stipends to help offset the cost of the travel and compensate for participation time. I will say that the Air District is looking into providing the transportation. They're trying to get a band together for those steering committee members who are interested in attending, for us to all attend together. That is all I have for district updates.
Thanks, Janice. We will now move on to our administrative items. So I ask it to Roberto to approve the meeting summary.
Good afternoon, this is Roberto Rizzo, co-lead for the steering committee. I'm sorry, to come down. Give those hello already. Yeah, don't twist from too much, just keep it. I would like to offer a motion, to approve last month's, notes. All right, do I have a second? Fantastic. Okay, let's do and then we'll public comments, all right?
In discussion, public comment, and vote. Any public comment on the motion to approve the draft June 23rd meeting summary? Seeing none, you can move ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay, this is gonna end with the vote, Barry, Hughes Baker. Yes. Vince Valdez. Stefano Williams. Tito. Yes. Jamala,
Yes.
Karina Rodriguez. Reina Moreno. Richard Falcone. Richard Lincoln. Barry Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Yes.
Lori, Roberto, yes, James,
Yes.
and Emma. Is it pronounce it? And
Present.
awesome.
For the record, M cannot vote, because M was observing the meeting last time.
Oh, that's right. And yeah, and fantastic. Thank you. Then the motion passes, right? Cool. And then back to you.
Great, thank you. So we can move on to discussion items. So I would like to invite Valley Vision up for their presentation. And just to remind everyone, this presentation has been a long time coming. We're really excited to have Valley Vision here to present. Just as a reminder, there was a flyer that was sent out via email with tonight's meeting materials and posted online as a meeting material that provided an overview of what they will be presenting on tonight. So we do not have a lot of time for this presentation, so I'd like to invite folks to engage with Valley Vision afterwards if you have questions. And on that note, I'm happy to pass it to Valley Vision.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Laurel Smith, and I'm a project coordinator at Valley Vision. And this is my colleague, Adrian. And we are going to be presenting on our new Cycle 5 free air grant through CARB. And through this air grant, we'll be working with the 8617 steering committee to do engagement and outreach on 8617 topics in the South Sacramento area. So we're excited to be here today to share with you about our project. And then Adrian's gonna go on some background about who Valley Vision is and some of our history with 8617 and the area.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here tonight, and letting us be on your agenda. Adrian Rand with Valley Vision. Just wanted to offer a little bit of context about Valley Vision, the nonprofit that I work for, that hopefully you guys will enjoy working with over the course of this project. We've been around for 30 years. Our goal is to advocate for quality of life across this larger Sacramento region. And we do that in a whole bunch of variety of ways. You know, we are involved in air quality monitoring and supporting clean air projects here, you know, in South Sacramento and in the North area too. We have workforce development projects that we're leading against. We help communities get connected to broadband. And we work with a whole bunch of partners in our more rural areas about preserving agriculture for viable farm use and those sorts of things. So we've been, you know, kind of working on quality of life issues for many, many years. We've been attending these meetings since day one. I remember some of you guys from December 2018 back in the day, and we were partners with the Air District and many, many others in ensuring that South Sacramento was included as a first round 8617 community in September 2018. So that's why we've been showing up consistently. We really care. We see this program is really connected to quality of life in Sacramento's high pollution burden neighborhoods. And then you know, we've also been doing parallel work by securing our own set of community air grants in other neighborhoods. And so we've heard from you guys loud and clear. You guys want to partner with other groups on outreach and engagement and getting more people involved in your great work. And that's literally what this project is all about. And we've had a great time working with your outreach committee. The next slide, please.
There's a bit of a delay.
Okay.
Great, so just wanted to provide some background about this project for you all. So, the purpose of this project is to do outreach and engagement activities to increase the visibility, participation, and impact of the 8617 steering committee. And to do that, we also have some goals throughout this project, and we want to reach over 10,000 people through online and in-person outreach. We want to hold at least 6 community workshops in English as well as languages that the community speaks. We want to reach 150 students within the 8617 boundary with air quality programs. And we also want to bring on some paid community ambassadors to help with doing outreach and elevating the work of the 8617 steering committee. So this is
Okay, maybe I'll not do this, and you guys can do it that way.
Okay.
I'll turn it on by someone who's.
Alright, so this is our project timeline. We just received the community air grant in July, so it's just starting now, and then it will go on for 21 months till March 2027. Right now, the first part of the project, we'll be doing a series of meetings with the outreach subcommittee to adopt community agreements and the decision-making structure for the engagement. And task 2, which is going to be the meat of the project, would be doing all of those community engagements, doing workshops, tabling at community events, the educational curriculum within schools and bring on those community ambassadors. That will be the goal of the project starting in December this year and going through December of 2026. And then the end of the project will just be reporting back to CARB about our achievements through this project and just communicating back to them everything that we accomplished. And that will be the reporting aspect will be covered by Valley Vegetable Plan. And can we go to the next slide? So this is our budget. So we wanted to really highlight some of these hard costs that this Community Air Grant can cover for doing community outreach. And some of those things are translation services, printing and distribution of outreach materials, stipends for community participation from the steering committee and community members who participate in workshops and attending meetings and community events. Stipends to bring on board community ambassadors, venue and AV equipment rental, graphic design and website services, targeted social media advertising, video production, educational curriculum development consultant, and an evaluation consultant. So the total project budget for this project is just under 300K. And that also includes evaluation staffing as the main administrator of the grants and covering all of the admin and reporting and all of that aspect of the grant. Go to the next slide. And we'll have some examples of the activities that can be funded through this project. We know that you guys are working on your serve outreach strategies and develop those. So this funding can really be used for some of that early action for your community outreach strategies. We heard that you guys are wanting to bring on interns. Well, they can, the community ambassadors can cover some of the interns be doing outreach and helping you guys out. Also designing and printing of outreach materials. Air quality and environmental justice workshops. Tabling at community events and development and deployment of air quality curriculum on schools. And these are all things that we've heard that you guys would want to do through your outreach strategies. So we could really get a head start on implementing those things through this community air grant. And so this is my last slide, and I just wanted to tell you what we need from the steering committee. So first off, thank you for being here. This is the first step, just becoming familiar with the project and what it entails. And we have a link to our project folder, and once they share out the slides, will have access to that. And attending 3 meetings to guide project planning. So we'll be working with the outreach subcommittee to go more in detail on planning for this project. And in those meetings, we'll be covering things like adopting community agreements, determining a decision-making structure, establishing roles and responsibilities, identifying a stipend system, and many more things go into planning for engagement activities. So if you're interested in being more involved in the planning for this community air grant, please attend the outreach subcommittee meetings, which meet every 3rd Monday of the month on Zoom from 6 to 8 p.m. And Valley Vision will be attending those as well and working with you all there. And then finally, just helping us carry out those identified community engagement activities through 2026. We'll be working with you all to do events and workshops, and we look forward to that and your guys' participation. And next slide. And I believe the next slide is just my contact information. have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be working with you all, for that. And then also hopefully have a little bit of time to answer Q&A.
5 seconds.
Well,
But you can take one question if there's a question, but if not, I recommend that if you're in person, connecting with Adrian or Laurel after, or sending an email, but yeah, we have time for one question. And is there any questions out there? I saw one hand up.
Thank you, Laura. These were, so I do have a couple of questions, but I'll email you guys and, you know, we can go. They might be longer than we. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and yeah, feel free to, catch up to us after the meeting if you have questions.
Thank you for the partnership, we echo that. Okay, so we are going to move on, and also thank you for being exactly 10 minutes long, that was incredible time management. We are going to move to our third report out. So I'm going to pass it to the district to give some background, talk about timelines and some big picture stuff before we dive into our strategies that everyone created.
Hi, all right, so I'm gonna go over a few big picture items. The first slide that we always show you all, that you've seen for the last few months is our timeline. We have now completed our Q2, which is our strategy development phase. And moving, starting this month into our Q3 report out and feasibility. And so we are right on time, based on the schedule that we all put together. And we'll be sharing out some information today about, having a discussion today around these two of the groups on, the strategies you all have developed. Next slide, please. So in order for us to go through so many of the different topics in such complexity, you all had decided that you wanted to break up into 4 serve teams. One was urban planning and mobile, residential, commercial, and outreach. And during each of the meetings that we've had in the past few months, you all gathered in your groups, discussed the strategies with the districts, amongst yourselves, with the public, to really create the strategies that we want to move forward. And these are your team members that were in each of those discussions. So our next few meetings and deadlines, I wanted to highlight this for all of you. Tonight, we are in July steering committee meeting, where we're going to be hearing a report out from the urban planning and mobile group, as well as the commercial. Your next opportunity for discussion from this conversation is going to be at the August 4th CERC subcommittee meeting. So a follow-up somehow is going to be discussed at the next Monday meeting. That is going to be the last chance for urban and commercial team strategies approval of the strategies to move to the district for feasibility. Then in August 18th, we're gonna finalize an outreach strategy discussion as well. Outreach discussion, and meeting, we're gonna hear from the residential and outreach group. And then in September, we're going to be sort of subcommittee meeting. That's where we're going to finish the residential final edits and additions for the district's feasibility. And then in September is when we're going to come back, the district's briefing that you guys have given us on the feasibility, looking at the feasibility of those strategies and discussing them with you. All right, so I had mentioned that we're gonna bring the first decision that you guys all made as a team was which character you're going to be part of the vendors. And you guys selected Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and Black Widow. And with all of that, you guys had 5 CSC meetings, 5 service subcommittee meetings, 5 outreach meetings. We had office hours where we were working with you all on the template. Before and Thursday after CSC meetings, as well as, all of the strategies were available for you all, to look at throughout the entire process on a Google Drive. And we don't expect you guys to be able to read all these tiny words. The point of this slide is that from the 4 teams, you guys have created 28 strategies, which is a huge accomplishment. So congratulations on that. And so, tonight, we're gonna be hearing from the whole team, and we're gonna be hearing from the Iron team. And so on mid-July, we created a packet for you all that looks like this. It had all of the strategies, in this packet with a summary of what the strategies are and the description. And so we have sent that out in mid-July, and we posted this under the meeting for public access. And just to top it all off, we gave each of you a phone call where we can to ask you to review these documents. So tonight, I think the co-leads are gonna go over how the discussions are going to go in terms of expectations, and then we can jump right into the groups. Really?
Okay, Board Brown, Secretary Goldie. So first of all, I don't know if you guys seen, but 28 strategies, 5 months, we did an awesome job. So once again, let's do our. So first, because it's such an awesome accomplishment, milestone, can we please bring out the cupcakes? So just for a little context, prior to us jumping in this panel discussion, as far as the urban planning role that we're getting ready to do, there are 11 strategies. We have a lot of strategies. So, prior, there was a few emails sent out. I know, the steering committee sent out some emails, Janet sent out some emails. I know I sent you guys emails Saturday morning just to make sure you got emails, or big email. So that way we can review these things. If we have any comments, questions, absolutely cupcake. So, questions, comments, feedback, we want to be able to hear it. However, again, for the sake of time, we won't be able to delve into every single strategy because again, we came up with these strategies. So we're looking more so for any feedback that we have on the strategies as a whole, any questions that or any clarifications that's still needed. And then that way we can address based on the 11 strategies, which topics we actually want to discuss and want to get feedback on. And I will pass it on to Brooke.
Great, so we're gonna have to work together to really talk about what we need to get clarification on, what friendly amendments need to be added for the feasibility. That way we can stay on time, because we do not have a lot of time to go through this. So I'm starting my timer, so I will hold myself accountable. But we will have 30 minutes to go through the urban planning and global sources, first. And because there's 11 of them, 11 strategies. And then we'll talk about the commercial sources, and we'll have 30 minutes for that as well. So before we go over and see, you know, which strategies the folks need clarification on, I just want to really emphasize what information Janice went over. We've been working on these together, members of the public and the steering committee, for over 5 months now. These groups, we split them up because we trust each other, and we trust these groups to be doing that work deep in the weeds, considering different factors. And so right now, we are here to get clarity, after reviewing the materials, if there's a part of the strategy that's confusing. If there's a suggestion to make the strategy stronger that we want, the district to consider in their feasibility analysis. That's what we're here to do in this phase. But we are not going to dive deep over every strategy because these have been sent out via email. You guys have had a lot of opportunities to review them. They've been on the Google Drive this full 5-month time. And so I really just want to emphasize that. So these are not new. I'm gonna be done talking and we can go over which strategies you have questions on. And like I said, we are going to start with urban planning and mobile sources and then go to commercial. So it's steering committee members, if you can get your packet out, that way you're ready to talk about your questions. I'll give you a moment to get those out of your binders, and if you're online, those are in your email. And this is gonna be, you know, a conversation for the public as well. You all have been involved in these conversations, you've been developing these strategies. But just a reminder to the beginning, when I went over the order of operations, we're gonna prioritize hearing from the steering committee first, and then members of the public. So,
Morgan to introduce.
yes, so I'm going to pass it to Morgan to introduce, the urban planning and mobile sources, and then we're gonna see what questions you guys have, I'll write them down, and then once we hear which ones folks have questions on, we're gonna go in the order of which ones have the most questions. So we're not gonna go one by one, we're gonna hear what everyone has questions on, and then we're gonna cover them that way. I'm gonna pause there and see if anyone has questions about that process. All right, Morgan, back to you.
Okay, just to reiterate what Britta said, I'm gonna read each strategy. It says strategy, there is a question, concern, any feedback, clarification needed. So we're gonna raise her hand so she can tally it, we're gonna go through the whole list, and then we'll go back to any strategy that there is any concerns on. So first strategy, increase public ridership or public transportation within the community. Any questions, comments, concerns, feedback? Online? In the community? All right.
No questions yet, and I will be reflecting back what I write down as we're going, that way people online know what I'm saying as well. But this is for everyone's awareness, if there's gonna be a question or clarification on the strategy, I'm gonna write that in purple, and if there's a suggestion, I'll write in green. Go ahead.
Next strategy, clean mobility options with zero emissions vehicles and infrastructure. Question, comment, feedback, clarity. Online. In the public. All right, we're making time here. Increase tree canopy. Now, I know that sounds very complicated. Any questions, comments, feedback, or clarity for what increasing tree canopy means? Online. And the public. Increase community input on truck routes. Online. And the public. Next strategy is industrial and warehouse uses zoning. Questions? Comments? Feedback or clarity? Online. And the public.
We do have one, let's get a mic. I
I think because we may be getting through this quicker.
Yeah, we're getting through it quicker, so if we need to pivot and change strategies, we can, but at this time, this is going a lot smoother than anticipated, because we trust our colleagues and we love the strategies that everyone's made. So I'm not gonna bring my mic over, because I need to stay up here. If we have a mic, we can bring to the back.
So I just think it's one understanding, because there is 1898, right, which is the state legislation around warehousing, and so the difference between what is in that and what, you know, the idea of developing additional standards and that sort of thing. So what is the expectation above and beyond for those already in 1898 for jurisdictions to do around this?
So we have a clarifying question, and I'm wondering if the members from the group who developed this strategy, if our panel, is able to answer.
All right, I think I can probably speak to that. Unfortunately, Paul Philly, who is our program manager, who's been helping us with a lot of this land use work, is not here today, out of the office, unfortunately. But really, I think those details can be worked out in terms of what are the differences and what can, how we can leverage maybe 98 versus what can be done above and beyond that. I think the way the steering committee had written the strategy a little bit more open to allow room for implementation, to be this specific implementation to be discussed in, the implementation aspect. This was, industrial and warehouse uses in the, correct? Yeah.
Okay. Any further question, comment, clarity, or feedback?
I'll just note that we added that to our flip chart, with the question and clarification color. And the way that I reported that question was, in relation to the tree canopy strategy, question about how AB 98 can either leverage this work or how the strategy can go above and beyond the minimum requirements of AB 98.
How should tree canopy is over your house?
The warehouse. and
The warehouse, the warehouse and zoning, I will clarify that.
Then I also have a question for a different strategy. It's on strategy number 2. The clean mobility options with zero emission vehicles infrastructure. My question is, are we referring to buying the vehicles and making them available to the public? Or creating incentives for the public to buy the vehicles? I don't think it's we're talking about application and what process, so we're gonna talk about what. And then installation credits. Yeah, I think if we answer that question, it's gonna make it easier to understand. So I don't know if we're talking about buying new vehicles and making them public for the people to borrow them like in a free renting program, or do we want to make credits available for people to buy them?
And for clarification, we need to streamline that.
Yes, or what?
So I can give feedback on that, I know as a part of this process as well. So based on how the strategy was put together from the entire group, this is not necessarily like a ride share borrow. This is, the program is kind of similar to Clean Cars for All, the actual swap of vehicles. So streamlining that process, because some of the feedback that has been given is, one, it takes a long time to go through the process. Two, even the amount of credits that's given, right? Like if you're given a $24,000 credit for an EV vehicle, but the EV vehicle costs $40,000. And you know what I mean? So that's pretty much kind of what this one is about. It's more so for the purchase for the resident itself to swap out. Is that
back on, we're just giving it a moment, our Zoom crashed. So if you're in person, nothing to worry about, if you're online, we're just giving you all a moment to get reacclimated. So it looks like our slides are back on, folks are back here again. And we were about to call on you when the Zoom crashed. So did you have a question, clarification, or suggestion?
I have a question. Can-
The M first, just because M, and then I'll call on the business.
Great. Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you in person.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to hear over the computer, so if I'm speaking out of turn or on a topic that we're not talking about, please let me know. But I was looking at the chat and listening to everybody, and I thought we were starting to talk about the tree canopies. If we're doing that, then I have a comment. If not, then let me know when that comes up.
Yeah, we can talk back to that one. Morgan had gone through the strategies top to bottom and asked for questions. And we didn't hear any for that one, but since we already passed over it, and since we do have a question, we can go back to tree canopy. So go ahead, and what was your question?
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. I just wanted to know, I was looking through the document, and since I'm new, haven't gotten a chance to look at these things, but I just got done working in urban forestry, and we always talk about how like the 30% tree canopy coverage is the threshold where like the benefits really start to kick in. And so I just want to know, how do we have that written down anywhere that we're aiming for like 30% coverage when we're adding more trees?
Great question. So the question was about if we have a metric, specifically looking for that 30% of the tree canopy, if that's written in the strategy, and I think Morgan was gonna address that.
Warren Brown, so, I do not, so inside of the strategy, excuse me. As far as the implementation portion, I think that is more so for when we get to implementation. I think this was more so the development of the actions itself. However, I do feel like that is something we can strongly note. And I know we also have Vincent online, who is a part of this team as well, so I don't know if he has additional feedback. If so, Vincent, I welcome you in your opinion as well, but again, as far as for my interpretation for how we put this together, this is more so for the steps and not the specifications on implementation.
Thank you for the clarity.
Vince, I see you're off mute. Do you have anything to add? And if not, we can move to your question.
I was adding things in the chat. I didn't know if anybody is checking the chat. I noticed a lot of questions were coming in there, or a few did. And Im's also did right before or after mine. So on the tree canopy projects, is it time for us to identify what areas and projects we can include in the strategy, or are we still waiting for it to be approved as a strategy?
Yeah.
I've identified about 70 tree locations already, and just want to know when we can include them to make the strategy look a little more impressive, if that's the word.
So that's what comes during the implementation phase. And these haven't gone through feasibility yet. So what we're looking for right now is amendments or suggestions to add to the strategy for the district to assess their feasibility. But the actual projects that will happen is more so in the implementation round. So, while I'm sure your projects fall under how this would be implemented, and we will look to those suggestions during implementation, we are not there yet. Janice, do you have anything to add to that?
We are having a little bit of lag, just for the folks who are online, you're hearing silence because we're either trying to fix our microphone or the slides are not moving correctly. I'm actually gonna have Paul Philly, who I saw online, answer this question, because this has to do with incentive funding, potentially. Paul, are you there?
I'm here. I'm having a real hard time in the room. So if you have questions for me, just throw them into the chat. But it looks like the question's about a goal for, excuse me, I'm sick today, tree canopy. And given that our goals have to be sort of benchmarked within 5 years and tree canopy doesn't really kick in till 15 to 20 years, the goal shouldn't necessarily be tied to canopy at date certain, but probably more along the lines of new trees planted or trees planted within X years will have Y canopy. So we just sort of have to be a little thoughtful about how we write the goal, but I think it's absolutely appropriate to say we want commercial corridors to be focused on, or residential neighborhoods, or parks, or those types of things as well. Right now, it's mostly about a series of actions to increase tree canopy and making sure that we have maintenance funding and incentive funding for those. And then the other thing to remember is that right now it's designed as an incentive program. So we recently just had an urban greening solicitation, and entities apply to the district to plant trees, and then we will reimburse people for planting those trees and taking care of those trees over time with a performance contract to do so. So if you're able to find locations for trees and you have property owners willing to put them in and people willing to take care of it, we absolutely can fund it. But if somebody doesn't want to plant a tree, we can't make them. So that's one thing to remember, is that anything with incentives, you have to get a lot of people who can say yes. Does that answer the question, or was it a completely different question?
That's fine.
One thing that I will add though is that, you know, I know that the steering committee in general has had a lot of discussions about where they would plant trees. I think it's fine to provide that list as we're, you know, sharing information with the jurisdictions, things like that, just so that it gets brought up any earlier, just in terms of like the list, but we're not making any decisions on content as published.
So I just want to note for the folks online who are halfway through this category of strategies. And just a question for the steering committee and also the public, in hearing that information from Paul and Janice, are there any amendments? Did you want to clarify what neighborhoods this should happen in, or are you prefer to leave it broad and then have it go for feasibility? And or additionally, another option is to discuss further at a subcommittee meeting. Okay, I'm going to call on Morgan Brown first, and then I'll see if there's any steering committee members online, and then I did see Adrian raise his hand as well. So Morgan.
We're Brown, so my feedback as far as, I guess, the best, course of action for this, I wouldn't, so what Paul explained actually makes so much sense. You know, as far as plant a tree, you know, plant a full-grown tree, that's gonna cost a whole lot more money. We plant a younger tree, we know it's gonna take a whole lot more time. So I think as far as even, you know, having a conversation about where we're gonna put it, I mean, we know it's gonna be within the boundaries, right? So that's like half the battle. I think we should get past this particular part. So then that way, once we know, okay, well, we want to increase tree canopies, now let's have the conversation about the where. We want to make sure the what is, everybody's okay with the what and the strategies of the what. This is my feedback.
Thanks for that feedback, Morgan. Any other steering committee members having feedback, either in person or online? Did someone come off mute and say something?
I have some input,
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Vince.
and this one is on the increased clean mobility options for residents with zero emission vehicles and charging infrastructure. So,
Okay,
part of
hold
the,
on, wait, pause, please. We are still on the tree canopy strategy, so I'm gonna go to Adrian on the tree canopy, and then we can hear from you for the next strategy.
oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For feedback, Brenda, just once we do finish the clean mobility, we're gonna go back to the original structure and just go through the rest of the list, so that way we can make proper time.
All right, okay, Adrian, a mic for you.
Okay, it's green. Hi there, Adrian Renner, Valley Vision. I agree with wanting to get feasibility information before talking about where. Because when I think about like a good, like, let's say it's urban breathing, right? Maybe the feasibility can say, oh, Elk Grove has this cool breathing program. Or the county has this thing that the city doesn't. And knowing that information would help me think about like, okay, where would it make sense to do the project, that particular strategy. So I'm hoping feasibility can include some sort of location specific thing that could help guide that. So.
Great, thanks for that info, Adrian. So we are down to 10 minutes now. And I just want to note for the online folks, before we heard Adrian's question, we had a process clarification from Morgan that we're actually just going to go back to our original process and read through the strategies, rather than taking them verbally. So Vincent, I will have you hold your question until we, okay, Vincent, you can get your question and then we'll go back to the list. Sorry for the confusion.
I can ask my question on clean mobility options.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so, it centered around the Magnum Park vehicle share program and also the, mobility hub out in Del Paso Heights. Can we have some of that information shared with all the steering committee members on the success of those programs and how many times they're being used?
We can.
Great. I think that'll, and I believe it will encourage us to get some of those options into our, steering committee boundaries, our SERP strategy boundaries. Thank you.
Okay. And just for clarification, both Brett and I are taking notes, so that way, we can make sure that everything that is being addressed, we can make sure that we can follow up on.
For the folks online, we're hearing some feedback. Can everyone check their mics and make sure they're not in use, please? Oh. Okay, it is an outside issue and it is being addressed. All right, we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so the next topic, and again, just for clarification on how we're gonna continue through, we have six more strategies. I'm gonna read through them. If there are any questions, concerns, feedback, or clarity that's needed, we will note it and then go back as time allows. So the next topic, the next strategy is commercial vehicle replacement program. Any questions, comments, clarity, or feedback? Okay, so we can note Barry has that on the commercial vehicle program. Any committee members? Anyone else online? Okay, we're gonna go to the next strategy, and then once we go through, we can go back to Barry, to you, for the commercial vehicle replacement. The next strategy.
Hey, Morgan, yes,
is
I do have
streets.
I do have a question in regards to clarifying.
Well, so, no, I understand, Gary, so that's why we noted, we're gonna go back to. Just trying to run through the- so that way, we know what topics have questions, concerns, feedback, or clarity, and then we get a lot of time for what's left, so. Once we go through everything, you're the first person to make a comment. We're not making any comments on this, we're just seeing if any strategies have questions, concerns, feedback, or clarity needed. So the next strategy is safe and resilient streets. For the strategy, is there any questions, feedback, clarity, or concerns? Okay, if you can note for safe and resilient, we have the M. Anyone in the general public? The next topic is reduce idling at schools and near sensitive receptors. Any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback? In the public? Online? The next topic, or next strategy, excuse me, is deploying portable emissions acquisition system once to twice a year for 5 years. Any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, or clarity needed from the general public, online, steering committee? The next strategy is roaming idling inspections during the PEAQS, which is the Portable Emissions Acquisition Systems deployment. So any roaming idling inspections during the Portable Emissions Acquisition Systems deployment. Any questions, concerns, clarity, or feedback? General public, steering committee, online. And then the last strategy on the list is portable air monitor distribution program. Any questions, comments, clarity, feedback, or concerns, in person, online, in the public? Okay, so Barry, we can jump right back to you now, and we can address the commercial.
Okay, here we go. You started to get choppy right at the end, but I did hear you. My question is, in the provide supporting fueling infrastructure, I have a question on that. Is that fueling, i.e. for hydrogen, or if it's outside of hydrogen, please, because I don't remember, clarify the fueling aspect of zero emission vehicles.
I believe it's agnostic as long as it's ZEV. So either hydrogen or charging.
Thank you. So fueling just being the aspect of a term that we're all used to. Maybe we want to go with a different word there.
Okay.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Paul.
For that question. Next, M, I know you had question, clarity, concern, feedback for, I believe it was the safe and resilient streets.
Yes, hi, thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Since I'm so new here, and this is the one that I got to suggest, I don't really feel like I had enough time, or we all had enough time to really sort of workshop it in the ways that we did the other ones. And, you know, we're not going to have all that time, but I was just hoping that anybody who was here, who has been here before, could just like quickly take a look at it and see if there's ways that we could strengthen some of the wordage. I know I was like looking at the actions, and it sounds a lot more like information finding, and I was hoping that like we could like beef it up with something more like a request for maybe funding something or anything like that. I'm sorry, that's a really big question, a really big ask, but I was just hoping to get some help from some of the other steering committee members.
Which topic are you speaking on?
The safe and resilient streets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, from what I'm hearing is you're actually asking for more actionable steps, as opposed to research, so to speak. I actually agree with you 100%. So we will mark that on the list, and I don't know if anybody from the district has any feedback or maybe some things that they see, how that can be more of a tangible, action slash result.
Yeah, let us think about that with our team. We can have a deeper discussion at our next Monday SERP subcommittee meeting. And so if any steering committee members have ideas, we can amend, this particular strategy during that time. And then if we have any additional ideas, we will bring that to the table as well.
Janice, can you clarify just, for the entire committee, how much time we have left to continue to edit and finalize this?
So, next Monday is going to be, the step where you guys are going to provide any actions, I would say, for the district to consider for feasibility. We're still gonna be continuing to have conversations about prioritization, about like potentially like where all those things can come out of the process. But next Monday, I'm gonna say is, where you want to have your input and finalize.
Any further questions, comments, clarity or feedback on any of the strategies that were just addressed? We have about probably a minute and a half left. Sorry, we have 15 seconds.
Done. But we can refine our thoughts.
Thank you. This is Roberto. I feel like this is something that I want to do, and I think like it would benefit all of us. We can just write down questions, any questions at all that we can go over. And you don't really have to worry about all of them, right? Like it's not there where a group of people working on this already. So if there is one specifically that caught your eye, for me, is mobility options, considering equals. If you want to do a deep dive on it on Monday, let's do that. Just send your questions over email. Make sure that you can, Morgan, you can email me. I feel like this is the time that we have to go over any questions. One of the bigger questions that I have is like around funding, like how much are we gonna allocate for each strategy? But yeah, you should talk about it.
I think the funding question for the strategies relates to feasibility, which will be the next step. And I want to echo that this is a great time for questions. There is one more opportunity to address them outside of this meeting, which is the SERP subcommittee meeting, and the outreach subcommittee meeting, but that will be for outreach. And so, like Roberto said, if you do have more questions, if you want to go home and review and bring those to the SERP subcommittee, that's great. I'll just quickly note that, we heard that safe and resilient streets will be addressed and amended at the SERP subcommittee. I just heard a request from Roberto right now to discuss the clean mobility options at the SERP subcommittee. And there was a question that Paul said yes to about sharing information about the success of that program. And then in terms of tree canopy, there was a question about the threshold, whether the 30% threshold would be listed. And we heard from numerous people, it was affirmed that feasibility info is preferred to come out first and then consider locational data. So that's really what we have summarized in today's discussion for urban planning and mobile. We are at the end of our 30 minutes for that one. And I would like to move us along to our commercial. But before we go over the process, before we dive into the process that we were doing at the end, where we're gonna have the strategies read off, and then we'll just hear from folks if they have questions, suggestions, etc. for that. We're gonna tally, well, there's actually not that many strategies for this one, so. We could just go down the list, actually. Yeah, there's only 6. Okay, So if folks are ready to switch gears to commercial, Morgan, are you gonna be reading those out again?
No.
Roberta's gonna be reading them out. Okay, great. So folks, put on your commercial hats, and Roberta's gonna read them out. Janice, I think, has a note.
Yes, I also wanted to say that we have, two members from the commercial team that are going to be helping answer some of these questions, so that if folks need to understand the discussion that came out from those groups, James Allison as well as Tito Fong will be helping us do that.
And honestly, if either of you, James, you two would like to read. I got your guard. No, seriously, because, I mean, you understand it, and I think it's gonna be easier.
Yeah.
You wanna go ahead?
We can do that.
Where's my armor? Yeah, so I'll just probably the same sort of, I think so the first is gonna be, public transparency, which permanent sources and violations, so enhancing, transparency opportunities there. The next is gonna be, establishment of a public information portal for the general public to be able to, look at, violations, but also the emissions tracking that's already going on. Expanding business education on, alternatives, on, potential new opportunities for funding to be able to, get chances at new sorts of equipment, so that same sort of area that we had earlier with the, previous group. Incentives for small businesses, again, it's that same sort of idea of trying to create opportunities for small businesses to be able to have access to new green technologies. Increasing education for nail and hair salons. So this is something that we did bring up very specifically. Tito is an absolute champion in this industry specifically, but it was a unique conversation about really the indoor air quality, and so much more conversation focuses on public air quality, but also the indoor air quality that we have in business is going to be important. And then finally, source investigation and focused enforcement. So really just enhancing enforcement against violations, and really looking to have greater investigation for potential offenders.
Okay, so even though we only have 6, we thought there was gonna be a lot of conversation for the last one, and then we kind of blew through, and now there's only 6, but there could be a lot of conversation. So since we overviewed what they are, I am gonna ask for a quick raise of hands. Again, that way we can see if folks do have questions, and then we can really focus discussion on that strategy. So, as a reminder, the first one is about public transparency. James, you want to read that aloud again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's public transparency and permitted source violations. So compliance information for various sources, making that available to the public, developing a report for community input, and then making that report and other compliance information publicly available on the webpage for folks.
Any questions, clarifications, or suggestions for this one? If so, please just raise your hand. We're going to tally them first. All right, seeing none. James, will you go ahead and read the second one again, please?
Yeah, so it's our public information portal. So enhancing access to information through a user-friendly public records portal, educating the public on how to access the public information portal and how to file a Public Records Act request.
Any questions? Okay, Vince, I see one hand. Okay, so I will write that down. Anyone else have questions or clarifications about this one? No, okay, Vince, your hand is noted. We'll circle back to you once we get through this list. All right, the next one, James.
Yeah, so business education. So this one's one of our bigger ones, providing information to businesses. We called out autobody shops and landscaping businesses as potential opportunities on environmental regulations and availability of cleaner products and incentives to acquire them. Encouraging businesses to make changes to operations that would protect employees, customers, and nearby residents. Performing targeted outreach and personalized door-to-door business outreach. And then partnering with businesses already implementing clean air strategies that can be used to demonstrate the highest and best practices for other businesses.
Okay, I see one hand for this one, down the window. Anyone else? Anyone online have any questions, clarifications? Any members of the public have any? Okay, I'm seeing another hand. Great, so that's one. Was there 2 hands or was there a 3rd hand as well? I think there was just 2. Okay, I think you were maybe fixing your hair or something. I got distracted. Okay, So then, if you want to read the next one, please, James, the incentives for small business.
Yeah, so that'll include providing incentives to the same businesses identified in the business education strategy and nail and hair salons to improve indoor air quality. So again, that's nail and hair salons, as well as auto body shops and landscaping companies. Evaluating types of incentives that would benefit specific business types, and then distributing incentives to targeted businesses.
Great, okay, any questions, clarifications on the incentives for small businesses? All right, seeing none, James, you may please read the fifth one on increasing. You just said,
This one's increasing education for nail and hair salons.
yes.
So specifically educating nail and hair salon industries, or the nail and hair salon industry, I'll say it one more time, I promise. On exposure to, or on exposure and ways to decrease exposure. Exploring incentives and opportunities for exposure mitigation, and then exploring partnerships and programs that can inspire businesses to meet health protective changes. So that would be working with the regulated bodies and the licensing bodies for those industries.
Any questions or clarifications on increasing info for nail and hair salons? All right, seeing none, and James, go ahead and please read us our last one.
Yeah, so it's gonna be source investigation and focused enforcement, so running unpermitted source identification programs for the, for new areas and expanded community boundaries. And then report back on findings and receive input from the community on additional direction on further focus enforcement.
Thank you so much. Any questions or clarifications on this last one? All right, seeing none. So we have two strategies that required further discussion, suggestions, clarifications. One of them had 2 votes and the other one had 1. So we will start with expanding business education. I'm checking my time, that way I can tell us how much time we have for this. So we're 6 minutes into this, but we're running 10 minutes behind. So 14, so we have 7 minutes for each of them. And I'm gonna restart my timer. Okay, so we have 7 minutes for this one. I think Roberto was the first one to raise his hand. So Roberto, if you could share your question, clarification, or suggestion for expanding business education.
Yes, first I want to commend you for doing math and algorithms, for figuring this out. The question I have for business education and incentives, I feel like those two could be one. Because you could incentivize education, right, in a way. So like, usually, in my experience, if you're gonna come to a class that is gonna tell you how bad you're doing, you rather don't come to the class. And when thinking about businesses, usually like, you know, community support or folks who don't necessarily understand like how, you know, like something is affecting them. They just see it as normal. This is the same product we've used for 40 years, and my mom lived to be 80, right? Like that's kind of like the mentality. So if we can incentivize the actual education, that'd be cool. Maybe, you know, having like a works, you know, how like you can pass inspection, you can have the healthy long shield for the phlegm-free business, you know, like kind of like to get people motivated to be part of that. Is this something that you thought about?
Yeah, ultimately, the real idea and ultimately the only reason that they are separated out is simply for the sake of looking at those strategies and being able to give them the dedicated, I guess, discussion and conversation and really focus that we wanted to provide on those. I mean, there's a reason that, you know, we highlight the education strategies for businesses identified in the business education strategy. Because ultimately, you know, to your point, it's really the same thing. You know, what are you educating them on? You're educating them on the incentives, you know, as well as some of the exposure risks and things like that. But in areas where maybe you're not gonna be able to get to that level of education, being able to provide those incentives nonetheless, there's 2 sides of the same coin, so they are the same coin still, but we wanted to just focus on talking about them in, I guess, a more focused way at either side.
I think part of it too is to recognize that all businesses need incentives, right? You're not always saying, give me something for me to do something good for myself or my employees or my family. I mean, we're talking about small businesses who are trying to survive. And they just want to know what's the right thing to do, right chemical they're using. rules of regulation. So you recognize, yes, most businesses are driven by business, but they don't need incentives. You want to say, yeah, you gotta, get incentive to want to be educated. And I think that's a little bit condescending, to be honest, to say that. And I don't need that. I'm just saying, if you look at a business as a community member, who wants to be the right thing, be educated, empower them. Don't give me incentives, I don't need that. It's great to have it. It's not necessary.
Thank you for clarifying that. And honestly, what I really meant was us, one motivation to get a better life. Right, so like it's, you want to be able to show, I mean, there's a reason why restaurants have a pass, no pass type of situation. Right, so that when you go there, the kitchen's clean, the hands are clean, everything is being followed in a specific way. I will feel more comfortable if I'm going to a specific business and telling me, hey, you know what, his business is actually using the right things. So that's what I was going towards, I also talking about money. That's also a reference to the
And I think that's it.
Just really quick, just noting we're halfway through our time for this item. So,
I think that's a great idea though, on the certification or the publicizing of like, we're at flood free, you know.
can you move much closer to your mouth, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
All right, okay, and then we had another question on this item. Yes, if you could come make your way to a microphone, please. And it might have been a suggestion as well. I don't know if it was a question.
Yeah, suggestion, comment, really fast, and I appreciate that the mic is already green, thank you. Just as more of a big universal comment, so I noticed that BERC, BERC is on a lot of these, strategies, which, makes sense, and I know we're gonna be talking about that, later in August. And I appreciate you turning off, but I do want to make sure that there's extra clarification, just as there's Sac County Public Health, it's introduces probably Sac County BERC. We could probably get more, confirm that with BERC as we meet with them, but I just want to make it extra clear that BERC is a Sac County agency for the environment, because I have did all that, so, yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. So I have that clarification that BERC is a Sac County agency, and so that should be clarified in the wording of the strategy, just to make that abundantly clear and less ambiguous. And then just because we are at 5.5 minutes and we do have 7, I just want to circle back to Roberto's question and then sort of that back and forth conversation. I knew we learned some new information. There was some thoughts provided, but it was unclear to me whether the strategy is going to remain the same or whether it should be amended at all. And I'm not sure if I'm the only one who's needing that clarification. But would you all be willing to talk about that from your perspective?
Yeah, I think that certainly it can from the side of the group, the commercial group. I think that it makes sense in a lot of ways to look at potentially grouping those things together. But ultimately, I think that, existing separately, or maybe I misunderstand your question, but I think that leaving them separate for the time being is probably okay. But that's just my perspective.
Okay, great. I'd like to hear from more steering committee members. Morgan, I see your hand, and thank you for providing that answer, James.
So just, I guess from my take from the hearing, the whole conversation, I think I'd leave it separate. Just because I feel like it just gives more room, like education is a new thing, you know what I mean? I think that even coming up with strategies behind incentivizations, I feel like that's something that's a focus, even coming up with an education strategy is a focus. So I think that you don't do enough justice if you combine them together, because now you kind of just mesh the ideas. I think that they need that focus. It could be that Tito's like, I want to focus on the education, right? Because I know how to speak to these specific people in this community. And James is like, well, I know these numbers. Let me run the line, so I feel like it leaves for more room for more opportunity. Only secondary feedback is as far as some of these acronyms, I don't think that Yeah, I just know there's a lot of acronyms that I don't know that's in here. So that's the only other thing I would say, as far as like the district, maybe just updating for people that don't understand what the acronym stands for.
Yes, we can do that. Thank you for calling back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that feedback. So, I heard suggestions to leave it as written, in the regards of keeping them separate. But we did hear another suggestion to clarify the acronyms that are in the strategies. That way that's more clear to folks. We are at our 7 minutes for this one. So I am going to, direct us to talk about our second one that came up, which was about the establishment of a public info tool. But before I pass it to Vincent for that, he did have a comment, which was, I'm not sure if I see emissions reductions in some of these strategies. And so to that, I would point us back to what Roberto said about, going through these strategies and writing your questions or comments. And for you, that one, if you see certain strategies that could have emissions reductions added in, please note those strategies and bring it to the SERP subcommittee meeting. But since now we're talking about the strategy that you had a question on, or clarification. So if you would like to talk about the establishment of a public information tool strategy and what your question or comment was, we would welcome that, and our timer is on for 7 minutes.
That's for me to speak?
Yeah,
public-
go ahead, Vincent. Tell us what your question and comment was about the establishment of public information tool strategy.
Okay, so I guess my first question is, some of these strategies have things that are already in place. Is there a public information portal already in place? Or would this be a creation of something
Yeah,
new?
so, one of the things is. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Right now, because I have the pleasure or displeasure to look at it, I know how to file a Public Records Act request. That can be something that's quite daunting to somebody that's looking for that information, the same way as finding information, performing that research. Some of the stuff certainly is available right now. A lot of it is behind doors that you might or might not know how to open. This tool was really, with the intention of creating a clearinghouse for that information. So that if I was a community member who had a question about what air quality looked like in Sacramento, in my neighborhood, where it's coming from, who's making a violation, who's been penalized for something, what the case is, that, Janice can just say, go to www.sacramentoair.org/whatever. And it had all of it in one single place. And so really it was ultimately about creating a clearinghouse of all of that available information and really creating a greater level of transparency.
Hey, Vince. You hear me?
Yes.
Well, you hear it, Vincent. I reviewed this, Janice, and I realized what we share actually missing a big part of this whole leveraging existing resources, like the business community within the Sac County or the Secretary of State or the Board of Cosmetology. I didn't see any of that here. We talk about public access. They have access to all the businesses out there. When you register an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, a petition name, all those things they have, a TFA for sales tax. Why don't they include some of the information about the clean air for small businesses? And I think we should add that on here. I think that's missing.
So can you clarify that, Tito? So your specific suggestion is under actions, and it is
I
to,
think part of the strategy part, where there is business education / public information portal. You go to the CBTFA sales tax portal, they have a bunch of information about what's taxable and how to register business account. They should have something about clean air and small businesses. You go to the Board of Cosmetology, getting a license and permit, they should be able to bring information about, and then some of the chemical that you're using for the sell products at your store or shops. I think we talked about that many times. I'm surprised we didn't have it in here. Or just the Secretary of State, one of the biggest entities out there when it comes to small businesses. Right? Their portal is huge.
This is Roberto. I agree that there should be some alignment on, with potential, regional entities. Like maybe the county, I don't know, there is a county tax administrator or like websites that are more localized. Using like State Department is a little harder, because they're like very specific on this information that they want to share. But I definitely agree that, I don't know if it would be the city or the county that could work with, touching materials. There could be additional funding that we need, I think, but maybe we can help on, maybe there's a major or something that's kind of what you're referring to, right? I think it's good.
Just noting that we were just over halfway through our time for this strategy.
Yes, so I just had a question, so from my understanding, you're saying almost like this language service on these main entity websites.
Additional resource, just additional resources and information, I think, this is.
Can I get you a mic? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Just additional resources and information, what we're doing as a growing, what we believe in this community needs to be educated. And now we get down to the strategies, there are so many existing entities out there that's already doing what we're doing in a different form. You're talking about dealing with small businesses. If I'm getting a license and I have to go through the whole process, why not have something here that says, understand the chemical you're using? And that's the one. Understanding the evolution that you're exerting as a auto body shop, that kind of stuff, right? It's never always about paying sales tax or registering a fictitious name or just doing a licensing. It should also be including like, the chemical you're using, the toxic that exists in the. I'm sure OSHA has something like that, but we, certainly have to incorporate that.
So I have a note to increase alignment between local entities, and I think that the boundary on that is that the air district cannot direct other agencies that are outside of its jurisdiction, and I think, we have staff here to talk about that.
Anytime I come, I'm scared.
Yeah, that is to clarify that, yes, exactly, what was just stated, we cannot direct any other agency to give us information or put that on something that we have created. So those would be the difficulties that we would encounter in trying to integrate a lot of data from a lot of different agencies and sources. I also heard somebody else mention that most agencies like to have a very specific data that comes directly from their agency that they're putting and vetting and posting, because it's their data that they're posting. So I think there's a couple of concerns or difficulties and challenges to overlaying something like the different data for different agencies on the same board.
Thank you, Amy, for clarifying for that. I think we did talk about that. I apologize for not remembering that. That was a great point.
All right, go ahead, Maria.
So I have a question, I guess, for Amy Johnson. So I understand what you're saying as far as like the vetting the information, but I guess my question, like there's other state agencies that may tag themselves taking the Clean Air Pledge. Like, there's different organizations that may not even necessarily be environmentally focused that they're taking the Clean Air Pledge. And they're able to put that on their websites. Is that still not something like a conversation that could be had? Like, I know, I almost would have said, I think that even, well, maybe not the California Grants that their website, but I know for a fact that there's agencies that I've seen that have the Clean Air tag on their website. Is there not a way, like even, sorry to throw anybody in the bus, like City of Oak Grove, right? Like, could it be something like that where, it's like, this is a mission we support. We're not telling you how to do it, but, and not even telling them to take a pledge, but still be for the clean California.
So when I looked at the strategy itself, and this was about public records requests specifically, right? How do members of the public get information related to what the district permits, what violations are out there? So that kind of information was what we were focused on in getting. Now, Morgan, what you're speaking about is something that's much broader. That's what I'm hearing, right? That it would be great to have
the good deeds that a business might be doing, or those pledges that are made. We have our October, like, coalition in there, there's all of these things that are happening, so you're looking for something that would be adding to that, like related to businesses and other steps that they're taking to be friendly, clean air, businesses, is that? Just
Yeah, so like, I guess it's kind of what Tina was saying, but I might have twisted it a little bit, but like, I guess it's, if we can't have specifically what Tito's saying, is there a way that we can have these conversations and form this, and I want to even call it alliance, but be on the same page with the mission itself, and I guess maybe this may even be a new strategy, right? But that strategy could be, okay, we can't have an actual full-on disclaimer showing that this is what they're supporting. Even that, having that particular clean air pledge, like button icon be like a hyperlink to whatever their particular air district is, so that way they can actually find out information. So I may just create a new strategy.
Which we can do at the certain subcommittee meeting. I really appreciate the ideas being brought up in this space, just noting we're over on time for this item. We have 3 minutes to finish everything else we need to do. So I'm going to pass it to Janice for some wrap up. And then we can go ahead and move on to new business and upcoming meeting topics. But before that, I just want to thank everyone for staying on time, on topic, and keeping us really goal oriented to get these strategies to the feasibility part that will happen next. So thank you for that, and on to Janice.
All right, thank you. So again, pitch for those who want to make some amendments, we'll bring potentially a new strategy idea after we discussed internally to Monday. So Tito and Morgan, definitely I would encourage you guys to come to that. New business, the topics, locations, just wanted to bring up that this Thursday, we are having virtual office hours from 6 to 7:30. Again, there's a reminder that if there is no attendance by 6:15, we will be closing the session to make sure that we're using the most efficient use of staff time. And then beginning in August, we are going to be holding office hours by appointment only. And so if you all would like to continue to discuss and have more information about what we're talking about during the meetings, before the meetings, your meeting materials, feel free to reach out to the clerk's email to work with them on the time and bring the right staff to that meeting for you all. Next slide. All right, just a few things on upcoming steering committee meetings through December. We have to secure the La Familia Maple Center for our location, so we'll be back at that location starting next month. And then I want to highlight that there are 2 dates there that are not the 4th Monday of the month. And the reason is that because why? November 4th Monday is going to be Thanksgiving week, and we would like you to all enjoy that with your families. And it's the same with December. It's going to be a holiday week that week, and it's going to be very difficult, I think, to have people's availability for that week. And so we scheduled November 17th as well as December 8th as the next steering committee meeting. So they're going to be on Mondays and from 6 to 8. So wanted to make sure to put all of that onto your calendars, and especially for December 8th, holidays get very busy for everyone, and the fact that we have to wrap up our report from what you guys decide, because we're going to public comment in January. Wow. Oh, is there more stuff on your agenda?
Oh, Mary has a question, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Thank you. To what you just stated, going to public comment in January, but by having the monthly meeting in December on the first week, I think that's the first week or the 8th day, whatever, without having additional discussion days for the subcommittee and the outreach subcommittee, are we halfway defeating our opportunity to go more in depth on what we want to be prepared for in January? Would it be better to have?
I can answer that question.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a great question, Barry. We had thought about that, and you have December first as your SERV subcommittee meeting to continue to discuss. So you're not giving up anything, that month for, subcommittee meeting.
oh, you know what? I forgot you just said we're moving the meetings to Monday. Never mind.
Okay, great, glad to get that clarified. And so we can go ahead and move on to the next slide, which is public comment. So, if you have those making public comment, I just ask that you raise your hand, please. I am noting the time. We did start 15 minutes late. It is now 8:01. You've done a great job making up time. But in order to be respectful of your time, I just want to remind you that. So if you have any public comments in person or online, if so, please raise your hand. Yes, Adrian, you can come up and you can use this mic.
And you started the post 8 PM comment. Well, so recently the state of California passed its budget, right? And I think I would be interested in hearing from, at a future meeting, the district, and maybe during district updates, how the state budget passage impacts the CSC's work. Just knowing that, we're in a budget crunch. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that request, Adrian. It is noted. Any other public comments? Okay, not seeing any, so I will pass it to the co-leads, to adjourn the meeting and do our South Stack flag. Co-leads?
Meeting is adjourned at 8:03, and what do we want?